Did you find out any more about what the Negaverse is after now?
Yes, when I checked in with Central Control, I was told they're now after something called the Rainbow Crystals.
I thought they were after energy. Yeah, but maybe these crystals give them more energy?
Whatever it is, it's not going to be good. But if they get their hands on those crystals, the universe is history.
Why the crystals?
Well, it's a long story that goes back over 1,000 years, when the Moon Kingdom and the Negaverse were at war. The Negaverse sent their most terrifying warriors, the Seven Shadows, against the Moon Kingdom. They battled for days, the tide turning when Queen Serenity trapped the Shadows inside the Silver Imperium crystal. She hurled them into space, but somehow the crystal shattered into the 7 rainbow crystals, a Shadow Warrior locked into each piece. They disappeared into Earth's atmosphere and were reborn inside humans who carry the crystals but have no memory of their former existence. The Silver Imperium crystal is the key to the universe. That's why the Negaverse wants the rainbow crystal so badly. They got one from Game Machine Joe. Count on them coming back for the other 6. If they get all 7, we're doomed.
Hello and welcome back to Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex, and today we will be covering the 22nd episode of the Deke dub of Sailor Moon titled The Power of Friendship. Today's episode is pretty long. Before we dig into it, I'm just going to say I left some additional chatter between myself and Chris at the end because it kind of feels on topic since the episode is The Power of Friendship and it was just us kind of bonding a little bit as friends and co-hosts, so I thought you guys might enjoy some of that. And yeah, this episode is a unique one in the sense that it might not have the best animation throughout, but it definitely has some really great moments thrown in there, and overall it's still a pretty enjoyable episode despite that, or however you want to think about it. One announcement before we get the show rolling: I really need y'all to start throwing in those auditions. So far, we've only got 4 of the Sailor Scouts cast, and I need y'all to go after the rest of those roles. Sailor Moon, Sailor Mercury, Sailor Neptune, Sailor Pluto, Sailor Saturn, those are all still open. There's probably more that I'm forgetting. Casting Call Club, Sailor Moon Another Story, the series. Submit your auditions today. Alright, let's hit the show. See you at the end.
Okay.
Oh, you're recording?
Yeah, it's good now.
Okay. You had an interview today, right?
Yeah.
How was that?
Good, it was fun. There was another guy his name's Ben Balmaceda. He's been an anime voice actor for almost 10 years, but he just got, he's the next, one of the next male playable characters in Genshin, so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on your YouTube soon, I assume.
It's up there now, yeah.
Yeah, it's already there. Okay, well, people can go check that out. And I thought, because the con is starting tomorrow, right?
Yep.
I thought we could do a little, like, before and after. What are you expecting going in?
I don't know. It'll probably be busier than a lot of the cons that I've been to in the past few months, just because it's Minnesota's signature anime convention. And the weather will be nicer here than it has been in ages, so
I'm sure you're ready for that.
Yeah.
What, for people who maybe just haven't been to one, what is a typical anime convention?
It's a bunch of people of varying ages, but a lot of them are at least teens, like between teens and maybe early to mid-30s, mostly, and a lot of people walking around in cosplay, and there's different panels that you can go to. They're usually hosted at hotels, and they go for 3 days, usually over the course of one weekend, and you can meet voice actors that are guests there, and you can apply to host your own panel if you have any ideas, and they usually have raves too, and certain dances and like cosplay drag show type of things that happen late at night, Friday and Saturday. But yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun.
It sounds like if you're an anime person who just likes to immerse yourself in everything you can, it's like a extra, like, you know, it'd be almost like going to Disney for a weekend, but for your niche, right?
Yeah, and like way less expensive.
Way less expensive, though. I do remember when I went to MegaCon in 2007 or 8, I brought cash because I was like, I know I'm going to want to get stuff. But at least there, it was a lot of like vendors and tables, and there was so much cool, just different things. You know what I mean? So many different interesting things to get. So if you're someone who likes collectibles, I would say go with that in mind, right?
Yeah.
What do you usually do at cons?
Like if it was me several years ago, I would buy figures and stuff, but I don't anymore. I just go to different panels that interest me and walk around the artist room and pretty much just hang out for the whole time.
It sounds just like a great place to kind of... You can see pretty much a little bit of every aspect of the fandom. You know, There's like... It sounds like there's some voice actor stuff. There's probably... Is there ever production artwork stuff?
They're used
You're doing a panel about it, right?
Yeah, but I was about to say that they're also used to be like in the early to mid 2000s, maybe up until like 2010 or 2012. Dealers for anime production art would kind of regularly be at cons. Now there's, I think that besides the person I work for and then one other guy who's the same age as my boss, they're like the main two people left for like big US based dealers that still do cons. What do you think caused that drop off? Probably just because it gets, now especially, it's for getting production art from like really popular series, it's not very easy anymore, and it can be like super expensive to work as a dealer for so that's a big reason why.
I guess it is sort of like a finite resource because they don't do it that way anymore.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, almost makes it more intriguing because it's like the further we go into the future, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder to find it. So, the value of what you have should go up, though. So that's always cool. Well, how was your week other than getting ready for this?
Oh, it was pretty good. I think the only other interesting thing that happened was I baked some more again. I made it last week too, or like almost 2 weeks ago now, but I made another coffee cake, like one of those that have, the one that I made has, it has like those crumbly cinnamon things on the top, and then...
Oh, those are so good.
Yeah.
You have a bag of those?
A bag?
Where did you get the crumbly cinnamon things?
Oh no, you make it, you just like, it's like brown sugar, butter, and flour, and you just like mold it up with your hands, yeah.
That sounds great. I actually did some baking this week too. I made chocolate chip cookies from scratch for the first time, and they turned out good. They were like Serena's cookies in the sense that they were very ugly, but tasty. So I was like, yeah, that works out. I also figured out I'm great at making guacamole.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. So that was my week with food. I'm actually. Do you cook a lot?
I don't cook that much. I bake more. I mean, I can make like pasta and grilled cheese and stuff like that.
I'm teaching myself how, just to like develop adult habits, because I have to, because I'm old. And when your body gets older, you can't like eat garbage. But it's definitely been a fun little journey, because I'm like, oh, I'm better at this than I thought I was.
Yeah.
I don't know. My parents didn't teach me how to do anything like that. Did yours?
And I didn't really get taught. It's just, you hang around in the kitchen for a while and...
Oh, mine kicked me out of the kitchen. I would straight up be like, can you show me how to do this? And they'd be like, no, go away. I was like, okay. But anyway. But yeah, so who cares? I get to do it now and it's fun. And it's also probably more fun than having like a parent over your shoulder anyway.
Right.
All right, so when we come back next week, we'll touch on how everything went. But for people who either want to go or maybe, I think, do they record or broadcast any of this?
I think, some people will probably be recording their own panels. I don't know how much will be recorded and posted anywhere.
Oh, okay. So I would just say if you're in the Minneapolis area, right?
Yep.
Head on over and check it out, and you'll tell us how everything goes. And you're hosting the production artwork panel, which I'm not going to ask you to tell us what that's good, the details. I don't want to spoil it. All right, okay. The power of friendship is this week's episode. Are you ready to get into it?
Mm-hmm.
Today on Sailor Moon, Molly's feeling blue and seeks advice from a kindly man, only to discover Zoisite has business with him too. Will Zoisite capture a rainbow crystal? Can the Sailor Scout stop her in time? Stay right there, and we'll show you.
Before we dig in, what is the Japanese title?
Restore Naru's smile, Usagi's friendship.
That's cute. It's also very much another one like this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot again that they did a good job with Molly's character, or Naru,
Yeah.
of portraying grief. Because I think in a lot of shows like this, it would be very easy for them, especially in the format that they use, to just act like it was over after that episode and have her be just another side character. But the fact that they carried it through, like, I don't know how long it goes on, but it's a couple episodes, I think. At the very least, this one.
Yeah.
We see her actually processing it, which I think for a lot of people who saw that as a younger kid and who also had a lot of death around them, or even just one person they knew who died, that was probably very helpful.
Yeah.
What is your... When you remember this episode, what's your immediate feeling about it?
Probably just how funny the monster is, honestly.
He is really goofy. And a tidbit about him, he's the only monster that Chibiusa fights alone in Sailor Moon the Sailor Moon RPG, Sailor Moon Another Story. And it's like the one thing that her pink sugar heart attack does damage to, for real. I don't know why. He just is, and I think that's funny. So, what is the opening to this episode, or the intro?
It's Mamoru having a dream that, or I guess he doesn't realize fully yet that he's Tuxedo Mask, but he has a dream that Tuxedo Mask is standing before Kingdom, and there's a silhouette of a princess that's telling him to find the silver crystal, and then if he does, then he'll know a lot of answers.
Tuxedo Mask. Huh? You must find the silver Imperium crystal.
Show me your face!
You must find the crystal now. It is the key to everything. But you must hurry, Tuxedo Mask. Evil forces are closing in on it. We can't let them win. Please, Tuxedo Mask, help me. Help me be free again.
I've gotta get some air.
And then we see him wake up in his bed, and we see him in his, like, bedroom, and he goes out on the balcony. We don't get to see where he lives that much, so every time we do see it, it is kind of like, oh, cool, it's like Darian's place, you know?
Yeah.
Or Mamoru's place. But what does he talk about something on the balcony out loud?
He pretty much just says that he wonders if he really is Tuxedo Mask.
I was wondering if they changed that or not, because it felt a little on the nose, but I guess that is just how it is. Yeah, that's what he says in the English too. And he's like, that would explain a lot. Fair enough. Who is the Dark Crystal's next target?
That's a pastor.
Do we know his name?
I think he has a Japanese name. Or maybe it doesn't say, I don't know. I guess on the wiki it doesn't say what the Japanese name for the guy was. It just comes up as his monster.
Molly talks to the same priest. I just call him a priest.
Yeah.
And then Vulture, Bobo the Vulture. Okay, he's like the least characterized target, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably because they were focusing on Molly here.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Also, what would they have really done with him?
Right.
Okay, we should go in order though. So we see Darian wake up. He wonders if he's Tuxedo Mask. The next target is unnamed priest. Why hasn't Molly or Naru been in school?
She's just really depressed about what happened.
Do they show a flashback to Nephlite's death in the Japanese?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we get to see that too in the English. And then Melvin and Serena we're discussing like what to do about Molly. And I just wrote this down because I thought it was funny. Because of the way they did Melvin's character is so specific. He was like,
How about we go over and try to cheer her up?
Yeah, right. Just what she needs, a boring lecture on inchworms.
Boring?
Never mind. All right, we'll go, but one boring word and you're lunch meat, okay?
No problem. I've been learning tons of jokes on the internet. I'll be Mr. Entertainment.
You're an alien. You've gotta be.
like, he's so ridiculous. And it's so funny to me because it's like, I can see that his character was written in 1992 as like somebody in their probably 30s to 60s who thought a kid on the internet would be that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so bizarre and I love it so much. What is he like? Is he like that goofy in the Japanese?
Well, in that scene where she punches him and all that, he says that they should go get food and have chocolate parfaits, and that's why Usagi, like, punches him, but then Naru just says that they should leave the house and get something to eat anyway.
Oh, okay. No, it wasn't like... That is, like, less exciting to me. I kind of like his weirdness. But yeah, I was going to just say, what does Molly suggest? And she says, you said just going outside. In the English, they added that she also wants to see the Sailor V movie later.
Oh, interesting.
They never go, but I think it's one of those things that they do sometimes in this one where they flesh out the world by like referencing things that you just don't see. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Because it's not like they can reanimate it. What do they call whatever, like when Luna goes to talk to Artemis through, I shouldn't have said that. When Luna goes to talk to the game thing that's like giving her instructions, what do they call that?
Oh, I'd have to look it up.
Oh, okay. They say, like, central control. That's what she always calls it. I was wondering if they changed that. But I thought that was kind of cute. And that's the thing where she always goes up to the Sailor V game at night, and she touches it, and she says something like, the password is field mouse pudding, or whatever. And it's always, like, a cat-related thing, which is cute. And she explains the whole legend of the silver crystals to the scouts. Which we got the explanation in the last episode from Queen Beryl's perspective, and then this episode we get it from the Moon Kingdom's perspective, which I did think was kind of interesting. Because at first I was like, why are they doing the same thing again?
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, I see. It's like two different sides to it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and explain it to people.
Well, the basic plot, I would just say that the Dark Kingdom in the past had 7 monsters that were their, like, main strongest warriors or whatever, and their bodies each contained rainbow crystals that, when they all came together, made up a silver crystal that had enough energy to, I don't know, turn over or control worlds, or however you'd want to say it, and the monsters got sealed away, and then in the current, like, human timeline, each of the crystals have, in modern day, there's 7 different humans that the crystals are inside their bodies, and the humans don't realize that they are. And then the Dark Kingdom servants have to retrieve those crystals out of their bodies, bring them back to Queen Beryl, and all that.
Yeah. And I think whenever they do, something about Sailor Moon that I really enjoy is a lot of it is, if you like look for it, it has a through line to real life in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was paying attention to recently the Doomtree series, which we'll get into later, but I can very much see how like the characters of Alan and Anne are kind of representative people who don't maybe give themselves enough nourishment, like aren't eating enough or whatever, because they act the way people do when you don't have food, and their whole thing is that they're trying to feed you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I just think those kind of parallels are sort of interesting. What kind of parallels could we draw, do you think, to real life from this? Like, what do you think maybe a person who might have a rainbow crystal in them that could potentially awaken as a monster unless it's purified, like what would that translate to?
I don't know, that's a pretty good question.
I think it feels a little bit like the resolution of trauma.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think people, the whole idea of having a rainbow crystal maybe is like a person who had something pretty bad happen to them at any point in their life, but then you kind of bury it down. And depending on what happens in your life, certain people might try to pull you in a negative direction, other people might try to pull you the other way. And you have to kind of purify that trauma within yourself so you can actually like have agency and make your own choice. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know that's kind of, I don't know what that is, but that's just what makes sense to me. And I think like the moon healing escalation and Sailor Moon's character, it kind of represents to me just somebody like seeing the good in someone and believing in them when other people don't.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. What about you?
Yeah, I can agree with that too.
Let us know somewhere in the comments if you think we're kind of on point there, if you have a different interpretation of it, because it's open, you know, it's art. You can interpret it however you want. After they get this explanation, how do the girls react?
Oh, they both, or no, not both. You mean when they're all at the shrine?
Yeah, it's like Lita, Amy, and Ray and Luna.
Yeah. They're all talking about if Usagi is, or no, never mind. That's a little bit after that.
This was where Lita's like really confident. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna kick their ass. Who cares?" And then Ray gives her a funny look, which is in the English. She was thinking like, "Oh yeah, but with tuxedo masks help." But I don't know, what did she think in the Japanese?
No, yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't.
It might just be a face.
Yeah, she doesn't say anything like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, they added it. She was like just another instance of them kind of making her more rude for no reason in the English one. We also get introduced to the moon stick's additional function, or the moon wand, crescent moon wand. What does it do besides the healing attack?
Well, there's the little joke that people are imagining that Usagi is using it as a hammer, but I know that's not what it should be.
No, that's not what I mean, but I love that frame so much.
Yeah.
That's because you remember, this is the tape I've had my whole life, like since I was a kid. So I remember watching that part and just like thinking the way they drew her, because it's like when she's counting the money, they give her like a little pig nose or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so goofy and cute. No, it's a homing device.
Yeah, it reacts to the crystals. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What's that light?
Serena, that's the rainbow crystal alert.
The what? What are you talking about?
I don't have time to explain the wand. Just get it out.
What? You're talking about this?
Uh-huh. That beeping means the Negaverse is nearby, and they're after a rainbow crystal.
What's a rainbow crystal?
I told you, we've got to find the person with that crystal inside before the Negaverse does. You'd better call the scouts for backup.
Does this mean I'll miss the Sailor V movie?
And I kind of thought that was cool because it's like, how would they know? They'd have to have a way to find it too, right? If they're all after the crystals. And
Yeah.
it makes sense that they would be a little bit, like, I mean, the other girls might be a little wary of her being responsible for something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, totally.
We see them talking after we see the whole thing with the Moonstick again. And what are they discussing here with Luna and the Inner Scouts, the other three?
Who would be the most responsible for actually carrying, like, being in charge of the Moonstick?
Yeah, and they called it in the English, they said who would actually be the leader. I don't know if it's like the same reference.
Mm-hmm.
Who was on whose sides here? Like, who voted for Serena? If you had to do votes, like, who was on Serena's team? Who was on who else's team?
Well, Makoto and Ami were saying that Usagi should be given the chance, and of course Rei was the only person that was doubting it. And then Rei, there's that. I noticed it's animated like really weirdly well for some reason, where Rei
Yes.
Rei pinches Ami's like leg.
I'm way braver than she is, though.
Luna's right. She has come a long way.
Amy!
Ouch!
Amy, are you all right?
Still, I think Ray would be a much better choice.
Thanks.
I always noticed that too, and I was like, it looks really cool, and I fully get like the feeling they were going for from that, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder why they put so much into that one little moment though. Do you think it was expensive to animate like that?
No. I mean, I think that was just a one little thing, because obviously the rest of the episode isn't.
You know what I bet? I have no way to confirm this. But I feel like either it has to be the person who was animating that moment must have had an experience like that at some point. Do you know what I mean? And that like really upset them, and they were like, this is my moment. And like that's why they put so much into that little like, it's like 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
It has to be something personal. That's what I think. Because, like, why else would you pay so much attention to that?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I love that moment. Yeah, so I wrote, Lita was on Serena's side. Amy originally was, but then Ray pinched her, and she was like, okay, no. And Luna, of course, always believed in Serena, at least in the English. Does she believe in her in Japanese?
Yeah, she says the same thing.
Okay. We have another moment with Melvin. What does he talk about here? Do you remember?
In the Japanese, they say that when Usagi calls Makoto on the device, and Makoto says, you should come here, and then Usagi in the Japanese says that the three of them are going to Chinatown in Yokohama to eat food, and then Umino, or Melvin, says that he wants to go eat Peking duck, and then like Usagi gets pissed off.
It's such a specific, like, that's such a cultural reference, because I don't understand why that would make someone mad. Do you?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just because, well, in the Japanese, he just kept saying it over and over again when Naru was clearly still sad, and then that's why Usagi got pissed off.
So it has nothing to do with Peking duck. It's just, okay.
Yeah.
In the English, it was so weird. He talks about going to some place called the Insectarium, which I think is a real word. And he says,
Don't cry.
Hey, I have a brilliant idea! Instead of going to see that movie, why don't we go to the Insectarium and look at bugs? Yeah, it'll be bodacious! If we hurry, we can get there in time for snake feeding!
Hey, where'd Molly go?
it'll be bodacious. Why is Melvin saying bodacious? That's Chad's word. You know what I mean? Like, if you remember Chad from the English. But I love that he said that. I thought that was so funny. And it's like, again, people forget little things like that. And just hearing it again, it kind of brings back this little rush of, like, dopamine. I don't know why. So everybody enjoy that. I'm going to put the clip for them. Why does Molly end up going up and talking to this random pastor in a graveyard?
She asks him in the Japanese what the best way is to get over someone that she was still in love with or cared about a lot.
I think it's the same. And then my note about the pastor is his most defining feature is his Prince mustache.
Yeah.
It looks just like that. So I kind of liked his design. I'm sad we didn't get to know him at all. And then, yeah, they're in a graveyard. I don't really know. Because they wanted to set it there because Nephlite died, and that's probably where Molly went naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Zoisite shows up and says what about Nephlite?
Well, I don't think that he says anything in the Japanese, because like the way that it happens in the Japanese is that when the priest is wrapping up what he's saying to Naru, he ends it by saying, "Oh, the next time that you turn around, you'll see the person that you'll fall in love with next," or whatever. And then she turns around, and then Zoisite's there, and then Zoisite's just like, "Oh, what a coincidence!" Like, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah.
It doesn't go like that at all. She shows up and she's really taunting her about Nephlite and is like, he got what he deserved. He was trash, basically. She might have even said that. And then Molly immediately recognizes Zoisite as the person who killed Nephlite.
Just as soon as I retrieve the rainbow crystal that's going to waste inside you.
That's the rock that destroyed Nephlite! Give it to me! Give me that evil thing! Molly, she's in trouble!
Wait for Jupiter, it'll be safer!
I can't wait that long, Luna! Molly needs help now!
But yeah, and I love that moment too. Because when Molly is just, I don't know, I think we can all connect to the feeling of if you had a chance to like face off with someone who took something really special from you, you know what I mean? Like losing someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's interesting to get to see her have that moment. And we see Serena running around with the crescent moon wand beeping. It's like doing the radar thing. And she's on her own. And so she has to... Who is not there? Although I should say Lita's like on her way. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because it's like, I think in the English they say Mars and Mercury just straight up refuse to go. And then...
There's no reference to that in the Japanese, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a little bit odd, because I was like, it seems out of character. They just weren't there. Do they ever reference why they weren't there?
No.
That's bizarre. I think it's weird they didn't explain it. But anyway, we see that whole thing, and then it cuts back, and Molly is trying to get the dark crystal from Zoisite. And I just put Molly's so great, because she is. And what do you think of this whole moment here? Yeah.
You mean before the monster transformation?
Yeah, like the whole interaction between Molly and Zoisite.
I think it's interesting that she tries to make a fight for it. It would have been cooler. I think if it would have looked even better and would have been more memorable if this episode's animator was a lot better than it was.
I was actually going to ask you about that earlier. I think it's who is it?
It's a guy named Akira Nakamura who only did episodes in season 1, and then he never worked on the series again.
I couldn't place who it was, and I actually thought it doesn't look like the guy who does the chubby faces, but something's up with it. Which is a shame, because it's a good episode in general. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, so that whole thing with Molly and Zoisite happens. Oh, and then we see her take the orange crystal this week from the priest. And I thought that like the animation here specifically was really cool though.
Yeah, when the smoke is wrapping around his body.
And they did an interesting effect with the crystal where it's like it shows like a space, you know what I mean? Like a cool, interesting background, and then it kind of changes into something else. And then they use the same effect again at the end of the episode too. For Serena's portrait, or it's like the side view, you know what I mean? Profile. Yeah. I thought those moments were actually particularly interesting and cool, though. So kudos to them. Can you describe Bobo the Vulture?
Well, in the Japanese, it's just called boxy, and it's a man with it. It looks pretty out of place for a Sailor Moon monster. It's like a man's body with vulture feet and wings, and then red eyes and boxing gloves.
I'm Bobo the Vulture, champion of the Negaverse. Left hook, my best punch.
Uh-oh.
102 knockouts, kid. You haven't got a chance. Listen to the crowd. They ain't stupid. Get ready to rumble!
Who designs the monsters each week?
I think honestly, it's up to whoever the character designer of the episode is.
I was gonna say, do you think it's because of who animated this one?
Well, I think who's in charge of the monsters would not only be the character designer for the episode, but it would also be the director of the episode too.
Because he does feel odd compared to some of the other monsters, but I think I know why they put him here. Do you?
No, let me see what you say first.
Because Sailor Jupiter just joined the team, and she's the physical fighter, and he's a boxing monster. So they wanted her to have... I thought they were, like, leaning into that so they could have, like, a physical, like, square off between the two of them.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if that actually happens, though, now, because I wrote that note in real time, and I can't remember if they physically fight or not. Do they?
They don't physically fight. She just uses the Supreme Thunder attack to destroy one of his
Oh, the
boxing
glove.
gloves.
Yeah, because she gets there late.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw my theory. I don't know why he's there either. He's weird. But I still sort of enjoy him on his own. Who saves Molly from the punch?
Oh, Melvin, or Umino.
They didn't teach this in gym class.
Round 2. On your feet, Sailor Brat.
Leave her alone! Stop it, ya bully! Don't you know anything about a fair fight?
Fine, get a bang out of my right hook.
Molly! Melvin?
Yeah, I put Melvin with a heart because I was like not expecting it for some reason. I totally forgot that was him. And because when we see Molly in danger, I'm expecting a Sailor Scout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, Melvin, yay. And who saves Sailor Moon?
That's Tuxedo Mask, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but he's actually doing more than just throwing a rose. He's like carrying her and all that and jumping away. And what is he also after?
The Rainbow Crystal, too.
Yes. And then we see Jupiter arrives a bit late, like we said, and she does her Supreme Thunder. And I noted about her transformation, I think they might have added some of these in the English, but there's some sound effects during her transformation that's not always there, I think, and I just really enjoyed them.
Lita, transform quickly!
Okay, Luna.
So whoever added them in, if it's in both or just this one, I enjoy that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's just in the English, apparently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's cool. Jupiter Thunder Crash intro, too. We get, like, the full version again. Can you describe her little, like, when they do the full version, what is the beginning part? Like, what's happening?
It's her chanting for the gods of the thunder and lightning in the heavens to grant her power, and then antenna shooting up out of her headband to gather electricity.
Yeah, like, she's one of the ones that she, like, names where she's drawing her power from in a way, I feel like, more specifically. And then I would say Ray is, like, the secondary to that, right?
Yep.
Because with the others, they just kind of call their attacks out, I guess.
Yeah.
I wrote that, we see, so she uses her Thunder Crash, destroys the glove, and we get moon healing activation or escalation. And he's restored, and his robes are suddenly now white, because everybody knows that means he's good, I guess. Like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's what the trope is. Do you have anything to add about the battle?
Not really the battle specifically, but in the Japanese, this monster was so funny to me because pretty much all of the attacks that he does are in, like, Japanese phonetically spoken English.
Oh, why do you think that is?
I don't know. Like, there's especially in older anime, if there's a character or a villain, especially that's based off of a non-Japanese character or like archetype of something, they usually have that character say a lot of English words.
I think that's so funny. It's probably like our version of British people being villains a lot. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the thing that's in their culture for whatever reason. I'm fine with it. I think it's funny too. The first time, is Mamoru or Tuxedo Mask so cheeky to Zoisite in the Japanese one? Because he's like kind of a dick.
No, I think all he really says is like, I'm taking this, like, I got you or whatever.
I think it's more the tone and the delivery.
He found it! Hey, that's mine!
Sorry, I don't see your name on it anywhere, loser.
Oh, great. Queen Barrel's not gonna like this.
Of the way it's done in English, because it's very taunting and like it really is like na 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 like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I don't love Tuxedo when he is like that personally. I'm not into that because also he doesn't know what the hell he's doing yet. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, stop acting like you do, sir. You don't even know what's going on. But anyway. Oh, this is the first time we see the Star Locket, which is very nostalgic for a lot of people. It's very iconic for the first season. Can you describe what the Star Locket is?
Yeah, it's a gold star, and then it can open up and then play like hologram scenes of different things, and plays music as well, and it ends up being really instrumental in the end of this season.
Which we won't say how yet, but it does. And the song it plays is, I think, I'm not sure if it's the same in English or not, but I think it might be.
It probably is.
I'd have to listen. But it's haunting, it's nostalgic. I'm going to obviously put it in the show for you guys, but it's one of those things that just like, something about the tone of a music box, and then you take the fact that it's like a variation of the intro theme, which is already so good, you know?
Yeah.
And it just really hits well.
I wish the other scouts had come. We'll never find the Moon Princess at this rate, and now I have to tell Serena she might not be leader.
Don't. Deep in their hearts, I think they both believe in her, too. She's a true friend.
What she is.
Oh, Serena, that's gorgeous. Was it a gift? Uh-huh. Long ago.
So I love the locket. And this is the first time we get to hear it in the entire series. And when this is all going on, this is when Molly is wrapping up Melvin's arm with the same, whatever it was, like scarf or fabric that she used on Nephlite. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do they talk about it?
Yeah, they do in Japanese too.
I thought it was cute because I think Serena even says, like, isn't that Nephlite scarf or something? And she's like, well, Melvin deserves it after, you know, the way he was today. And I think we're seeing like the beginning of their relationship, and it's really cute, if you ask me.
There you are, Melvin. Sure it's not too tight?
No, it's perfect, thanks.
Hey, that's Nephlite.
I know, but he'd want me to use it to help Melvin. He saved my life.
Oh.
Besides, Nephlite lives in my heart. Just like all my closest friends.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Do you remember these small details, or is some of this stuff just like coming back to you?
I didn't remember this episode super clearly. I just remembered the scenes where Mamoru has the visions, and then I remembered the monster. And then I think I remembered too the way that this episode ends, because it was so cool, and I liked the melding of Usagi into the bridge at night.
It's one of my favorite like animation moments from this episode, and it's very unique. We haven't seen anything too much like that, have we?
No, at least not yet.
Yeah, and I thought I just thought the way they did that was so interesting. Like the profile itself was drawn slightly oddly. I have to say, I did notice that, but it was such a cool effect. I was like, I don't even care. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into the Sailor Says, how do you feel about this episode in general?
It's okay. I mean, it's not bad. It's not amazing at all, but it has a funny monster, and there's some memorable enough moments.
Do you connect to anything from it specifically?
No, not. Yeah, not. I don't think so.
I could connect to Molly's character in wanting to know how to process grief, because I think when bad things happen, before people have the tools, the hardest part is like not even knowing where to start, you know? And sometimes it just takes someone telling you like, just do this. Like, and it could be something you thought about already, like literally just cry, just let it out or whatever it is. But getting the confirmation from someone in that moment for some reason is so important.
Yeah.
And I can definitely relate to that for sure. I think a lot of people probably can. Let's give it a rating out of 5 stars. Go ahead.
3.
I would give it 4.
Okay.
But that's because I really just remember enjoying this one a lot as a kid. So I think it's like a nostalgia star.
Okay.
From me. I'm just going to be honest about it. Like it's hard not to, because it's from the tape I had, forever. But I also think there are a lot of really cool firsts in this episode that warrant that. Like the first time we see the radar on the moonstick, the thing with her crushing the pig jar was so funny and cute. Melvin is ridiculous in it. Although Melvin gets points only in the English because he's so weird.
Yeah.
It's like totally different. And yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. 4 stars. Jupiter's debut episode is 5, so this is definitely below that. But I find this one fun to watch.
My friends mean a lot to me.
Yeah, and true friends are hard to find. Serena may not be the fiercest fighter,
Or win any prizes for bravery.
And you wouldn't really call her graceful.
but she has a good heart. Making someone smile is worth a lot.
It makes you feel good, too. Try it sometime, Sailor Moon says. See ya!
All right, the Sailor Says is about friendship. What is a true friend? Friends are hard to find. And then they talk about Serena's heart and how, like, she might not be the most dependable person, but when it really counts, she's there for you and she really cares, and that's why they all love her. What's your take on this?
That's another like wholesome, not super corny one.
Yeah, and I think it's something that the definition of what a friend is changes as your life goes on, you know? And that can be one of the harder adjustments as you move not only through like the schooling age, because you know how it, like, you kind of shed friends during that time just based on what class you're in, right? And then you go to college, and that's the most immersed you are in your peer group, and then you're out of that, and then anyway, people know how it goes. What would you say, and you can say anything, but if you were, how do I phrase this? I wanted this to sound right. If you were going to give advice to, like, your little brother if you had one, or sister, or something like that, like a younger sibling, about how to, like, what is a good friend? Like, what could they look for? What's, like, one thing you would say that could be, like, the sign of a good friend?
A big thing for me has always been mutual interest, or however that I think that's probably the right word to use. Like,
yeah,
someone who puts the same amount of effort back in talking to you as you do to them.
Yeah, like having enough to connect on so that it doesn't feel like the conversations are forced, right?
Yeah.
Which leads into natural friendship chemistry, definitely. I would say someone who respects your boundaries is a good friend for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think it's, especially when you're in your early 20s, there is an innate human instinct in a lot of people that we want to please others and we want our, like, peers to really like us and all of that. But once you start setting boundaries for yourself, people will reveal who they are to you, like, very quickly, you know? And it's almost nice when you get to the point where you're like, I don't necessarily talk to the same volume of people that I did before, but the ones I interact with, I know are, like, quality people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who are not gonna BS me. They're not gonna, you know, waste my time and energy on nonsense because they're tired and bored or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's a really freeing feeling to not have to deal with the extra nonsense that comes with some of that stuff. And it's so funny because I'm curious. I'll say my definition of a friend at 33, almost 34, is probably different from you, but how do you view friendship now versus when you were younger? Like, what's changed about it?
I just look a lot for people that put enough effort into getting together and asking me things or expressing interest in things that I'm interested in too, not just one way, and you know, keep up conversation, and I can spend enough time with them, like, regularly, and have it feel real, and pretty much probably just what a lot of people look for.
What's your number one friend hangout thing to do?
I don't know. I think it might be different if it's just speaking on totally platonic friendship. Probably, I don't know. Probably just doing something along the lines of getting food or getting lunch or dinner somewhere, and then hanging out at somebody's house and just talking for a long time about whatever.
I mean, that sounds fun. Now I feel weird about mine.
Why?
Because it's exploring abandoned theme parks. That's weird. But but that is the most fun I've ever had with anyone, truly. Is one time a friend of mine and I went to this place, allegedly, a long time ago, which we will not say a date, that was a theme park where I was at the time in the 90s. And it kind of shut down, but the property was kept and it was largely left untouched for about 20 years. And so, and it had miniatures of all of these, like, famous things from China, right? It's like that was kind of the thing. And when I went there with them, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning and it was like misty rain. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It was literally the most magical aura I've ever seen in my life. We were walking around this, like, ruined place with buildings that just were half, like, the front was off of it, and you could see the different levels. Like, it was so interesting and cool. It literally felt like walking through Spirited Away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never had an experience like that before or after either. But it was just, I could, like, feel the energy in the air, you know? And I was like, I don't know. It was just, it was so cool to me. So that is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Is stuff like that. If I had to pick something a little more normal, I guess I would say I don't like going out. So people who can hang out at home are kind of like my vibe, you know? I know, I don't know, loud noises, bright lights, it's like small doses, for me on that. How do you deal? Do you like loud stuff?
The only things like that I go to regularly are ever since early October of last year. Like I go to drag shows on a pretty regular basis, but besides that, I don't go to like loud.
Drag shows can be loud.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I always bring earplugs for them, and then I'm good. I was actually, it's so funny. I was thinking about, do you know who Evie Oddly is?
Yeah.
So I met her and Brooklyn Heights together, and it was the season that she was gonna win, but she hadn't won yet, I think, or she had just won. I can't remember, but I remember I was like the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and I was feeling so ugly and like unattractive, and I almost didn't go that night, but my friend was like, come on, like, you know, you want to see them. So I went, and like I had the VIP ticket because they were not expensive at the place, but it's like $40, and then you get to go and do the picture or whatever. And I get up there, and Brooklyn hugs me first, and she just like squeezed the ever-living crap out of me, and I couldn't tell you how much I needed a hug in that moment too, because I was feeling so gross. And then I was like, oh, wow, you give the best hugs ever. And then Evie is like, I didn't know it was a competition. And she grabs me and like squeezes even harder. And then takes a picture of us. And we're just both like smiling our asses off. I look terrible. I'm not going to share the photo. But I will always keep that photo because it's just like we both have joy exploding out of our face, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but stuff like that, to me, there's something about going to drag shows where, like, there's always a little touch of something match, you know? And I'm always glad I went. And in that instance, that was why. What's your favorite drag memory?
So far, I guess, since I haven't been doing it that long, or going to them that long, probably, I guess, the way that I became friends with one of the main drag people I'm friends with now. His name's Justin. I think he's your age, or like almost around your age. He's probably the most famous, single most famous drag performer in the Minneapolis area. His drag name is Nocturna Lee Mission, and he does more horror or like darker themed stuff when he produces or hosts his own shows. And most of the ones that I go to are ones that he produces. I remember the night that the night that we later became friends, when I went up to him after the show when he was outside and just started talking. It was another show that he produced, because most of the ones I go to are ones that he hosts and makes up. He opened the show in this like corn outfit, and he lip synced to that like TikTok song of that little kid saying, like, talking about corn.
Oh my god.
And then
go ahead.
And then towards the end of it, he was walking around and like handing out like shucks of corn to people, and then I was the last person that he gave a shuck of corn to. And then later that night, it was when I went up to him and like we started talking and became friends after that. So I guess if I could pick one thing, that's like the most major thing I have so far.
That's a great memory, though. Like, first of all, just the fact that it's corn. I don't know if you'll know this reference. I know some of our listeners will. I immediately saw Lori Beth Denberg hugging the giant ear of corn from All That. Do you know the show All That?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a thing on that show, and they just had this gigantic ear of corn that they would talk to and hug and reference for no reason, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever as a kid. So that's immediately what I thought about, but like, to take it into the audience and give you corn is so funny.
Yeah.
And then you're the last one, and then you made friends with him. That's probably why you were the last one, too. Anyway, we can talk more about that, though, because that's like another separate show. That's it for Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. This week's episode was The Power of Friendship, and I had a lot of fun reliving this one. It's one that I forget about until the second I'm reminded of it, and then a lot of it kind of comes flooding back to me. I especially enjoyed Melvin this week. I really am loving getting to know these characters on a much deeper level through doing the show and paying closer attention to it and everything. I hope you guys are as well as we go through this journey together. But yeah, sound off in the comments. Answer some of the questions I asked Chris during the episode, whatever ones you feel compelled to share your story about, because these conversations are things that I think the show probably brings up inside a lot of people, and we're voicing them on the show, but this can be an open dialogue here, so, go ahead. Let us know what you would say a friend is to you, and maybe how you used to view friendship when you were younger versus how you do today, and all of that. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and I will see you next week. For more of me, Alex, you can find me on the socials at Alex Summers SFE. You can also follow Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast, on Facebook, and go check out our website, moonstarpod.com. For more of Chris, you can find him on the socials at Chris Mayek, ChrisMayek. And, of course, his gallery for his production artwork on Rubber Slug is linked on our website, so go and check that out. Until next time, peace. Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast, is meant for informational, entertainment, and educational purposes only. We claim no ownership over the audio effects or sound effects used during the creation of this show. All audio clips and sound effects used belong expressly to the license and copyright holders.
Never mind. Got me a new target.
Jupiter, I call upon your powers. Help me defeat this monster and save the rainbow crystal. Jupiter, thunder!
Sailor Moon, you all right?
Uh-huh. Healing! Activation!
I must tell the world. Violence is a dreadful thing. We must try to purge it from our lives.